The wind whispers across this desolate land, carrying echoes of a silence that once screamed, an unthinkable, chilling defeat. A sudden fury erupted, a storm of hooves and cries. Overwhelming, desperate struggle unfolded, a moment truly unimaginable here. Far beyond what eyes could see, a powerful nation gathered, their spirits strong. Their numbers were truly immense. What forces met in this quiet valley? Only silence and sorrow remained. A deep, human tragedy. This was a land of ancient spirits and endless horizons, where freedom breathed its last wild breath. They were the tip of a spear, a proud elite force, believing themselves invincible, taming a continent. With certainty, they rode headlong, 700 souls, into an unseen tempest. What unimaginable fate awaited them? 700, brave and true, against a tide they could not imagine. An advancing world stood ready. On the other side, an overwhelming host awaited. 1,000, then many more. Fierce defenders of freedom stood. Their resolve was a fire, burning bright against encroaching shadows. They fought for more than mere land. Two worlds collided here, not just armies, but ways of life. A fateful, cataclysmic embrace unfolded. When the echoes faded, the unthinkable became stark reality. A superior force, utterly and completely undone. Annihilation. A word chilling the blood, describing the ultimate fate of those who rode into destiny. They were seen as the iron fist of a burgeoning nation, untouchable. Here, they met their bitter match. How could a force deemed supreme fall so completely? A shock rippled across the young nation. The sheer audacity, raw courage on both sides, etched into the soul of this land, forevermore. From this crucible of fire and dust, a powerful myth was born, shaping stories for generations. It was a testament to fierce defiance, a desperate stand against an unyielding, overwhelming future. The Little Bighorn River, a silent witness, saw a final, desperate struggle for sovereignty, for life. How did these threads weave into such a devastating tapestry? We shall unravel this profound question. Its impact echoed far beyond the valley, altering the American West, shaping destiny, leaving legacy. Join me now as we step back into those fateful days to truly feel time's history, not just learn. Look closely at this land, friend. An endless canvas, painted by seasons, whispering ancient tales to the wind. In the 1,870 seconds, this heart of America beat with a rhythm undisturbed under vast, open skies. Here life moved with the buffalo, with the rivers, with the sacred spirit of creation itself. Generations had etched their stories into this earth, a tapestry woven with tradition and deep respect. This was their home, their sanctuary, their very identity, etched into every river and hill. But a different dream stirred, a powerful current named Manifest Destiny pushing relentlessly westward across the land. It was an idea, a fiery belief, that this land was theirs for the taking. From sea to shining sea, hope for new beginnings, for fertile soil, for riches yet untold, drove countless souls onward. Iron snakes carved through ancient hunting grounds, connecting distant dreams, forever changing the landscape. Towns sprang up like mushrooms after rain, testament to a tide that no one believed could be stopped. The thunder of hooves, once a symphony of life, became a tragic lament under a relentless sky. Their ancestral lands, once boundless, were shrinking, devoured by an insatiable hunger for progress. The rhythm of their lives, deeply tied to this earth, was being violently disrupted, day by day. Every new fence, every new furrow, chipped away at a way of life that had stood for millennia. Imagine seeing your world, your entire existence, slowly but surely being erased from memory. Promises, once etched in solemn words, crumbled like dry leaves in the unforgiving winds of ambition. The bitterness grew, a quiet anger simmering beneath the surface, fueled by betrayal and loss. Every broken promise, every seized acre, pushed them closer to an inevitable, heartbreaking confrontation. For some, the answer was clear: to stand, to fight, for the very soul of their people. The whispers of resistance grew louder, carried on the wind, echoing across the sacred plains. Into this simmering tension rode the U.S. 7th Cavalry, a powerful symbol of America's expanding reach, and at its head, a figure both charismatic and controversial, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer. He was the Golden Boy, a dashing warrior whose name was already legend, though stained by past deeds. His ambition burned bright, an unyielding flame, driving him towards glory, and perhaps something darker. He represented the might, the unwavering will of a nation determined to tame the wild frontier. Across the divides, the Lakota, Sioux, and northern Cheyenne gathered, their hearts heavy yet defiant. They were not just fighting for land, they were fighting for their very existence, their spirit. Freedom, a word as vast as the plains themselves, was the precious commodity they sought to defend. Two fundamentally different worlds, each with its own truth, were now on a collision course. The air grew thick with unspoken words, with simmering resentment, awaiting the thunder of destiny. We often forget how quickly a shadow can fall across even the brightest, most peaceful existence. Life here, tethered to the rhythm of seasons, was a dance with the ancient spirit of this land. But one day, a whisper, then a shout, broke through the stillness of that unforgiving winter. A cold decree arrived, piercing the quiet of a harsh winter sky. Like an icy spear, the message was clear, a stark ultimatum from a world they barely recognized, far away. All hostile Lakota and Cheyenne must report to reservations by the 31st of January 1876. Hostile. What a word to describe those merely living as their ancestors had, free. To abandon this, the very breath of their existence, was unthinkable, a profound violation. Their identity was woven into every river, every mountain, every whispering blade of grass. The thought of confinement, a life caged within arbitrary lines, filled them with deep dread. This wasn't just land, it was freedom, tradition, and the very soul of their people. The ultimatum wasn't a request, it was an affront, a final, unbearable straw upon their spirit. They would not yield. Their pride, ancient and unbending, would never allow it. And so, the stage was set. The winds of war began to stir across the plains. Across the distant hills, another force stirred, resolute in its mission, blind to the true cost. The military machine, formidable and convinced of its own might, prepared to enforce the decree. They saw only hostiles, a problem to be solved with force, a simple matter of conquest. There was an arrogance, a fatal underestimation of the spirit that burned within these people. They believed their numbers, their weapons, would simply sweep away any resistance, swiftly, easily. But across the vast territories, another kind of message was being sent, carried on the wind. The tribes, facing this common threat, began to draw closer, weaving their fates together. Lakota, Cheyenne, Arapaho old alliances rekindled, new bonds forged in the face of tyranny. And among them, a holy man, Sitting Bull, felt the sacred pulse of a gathering storm. His visions spoke not of defeat, but of triumph, a powerful sign from the spirit world. He shared these sacred insights, igniting a fervent hope, a defiant fire in their hearts. The visions brought solace, belief in something greater, a sense of shared purpose and strength. They would not simply flee, they would stand, united, for all that was sacred to them. The largest gathering of Plains warriors in history began to form, a formidable, united front. Their defiance wasn't just resistance, it was a profound testament to their indomitable spirit. A gathering storm, yes, but also a gathering of souls, ready to stand as one. The sun beat down relentlessly, a silent witness to their unwavering march across this ancient, unforgiving land. Each man carried the weight of expectation, a silent prayer for glory in the heart of the wild. And at their head, Custer, a man painted by ambition, his gaze fixed firmly on the horizon. The land stretched endlessly, whispering ancient secrets of those who called this boundless expanse home. Their mission: find and engage. A decisive victory, a grand triumph for a nation reaching westward. The siren call of glory, a powerful current, pulled them ever onward, away from certainty. He felt destiny's hand, a guiding force, convinced of his own singular, undeniable triumph. Yet, silent eyes watched. Native hearts understood the subtle, profound warnings whispered by the ancient land. They read the Earth's story, deciphering signs of a vast gathering, far larger than anyone dared imagine. With solemn faces, the scouts delivered their stark truth, a chilling message from the silent, vast wilderness. Many lodges, many warriors. Their voices carried a gravity Custer, alas, seemed unwilling to truly grasp. Custer, fueled by his own singular vision, dismissed their age-old wisdom, hearing only echoes of doubt. A Crow scout spoke of a village so vast, it stretched like a great river, and an Arikara spoke of warriors, countless as the prairie grass, formidable and united. He saw opportunity, not peril, a chance for glory blinding him to honest counsel. Their knowing glances spoke volumes, a quiet dread for what ominous fate lay unknowingly ahead. Deeper they rode, into a landscape now holding its breath, a vast, waiting silence. Unseen eyes watched from the ridges, shadows dancing with ancient knowledge and grave purpose. A subtle unease began to stir among the ranks, a whisper of unseen, growing danger. The relentless heat and endless miles weighed heavily, becoming a silent, weary, constant companion now. Still, Custer pressed on, driven by an unyielding will, a vision of victory burning bright. Unbeknownst to them, a massive, united force, far greater than any had dared imagine, waited. Small signs, easily missed, pointed to a gathering of souls ready to stand as one. Before them, a valley, appearing deceptively peaceful, held a secret of immense proportions. His calculations, flawed by his own ambition, led him to profoundly underestimate the land's true power. The scouts' silent despair hung in the air, a final, unheeded warning for all. With a fateful command, they descended, crossing an invisible line into an unknown fate. Even the horses seemed to sense the change, a subtle tremor of foreboding in the air. The quiet before a storm, a tension building, thick and heavy with unspoken fears. His mind was set, fixed on the glory, overlooking the looming shadow of grave misjudgment. A sleeping giant, unified by threat, awaited their arrival, prepared for an ultimate stand. They pressed on, each step a further commitment to a confrontation that would echo through history. The prairie held its breath, a silent witness to a story about to unfold, forever remembered. The morning light painted shadows long and deep across the land. A fateful day began for many, unknown then. A deep resolve settled in Custer's mind, a certainty born of past triumphs and swift campaigns. He pushed his men onward, driven by an inner fire, perhaps too confident in his own proven instincts. Ahead, scouts peered over distant ridges, their eyes scanning the vast, silent valley below. A small wisp of smoke, then another, caught their attention, hinting at life beyond expectation. Something stirred down there, a murmur reaching them across the windswept plains, a growing unease. Through their spyglasses, they strained, trying to pierce the morning haze, seeking any definitive sign. And then, with a gasp, the valley floor opened up, revealing a sight that stole their breath. It wasn't a camp, it was a city of Tipis, stretching further than anyone could have imagined possible. A sea of canvas, countless hide lodges, testament to a gathering of people truly immense and grand. No one among them had ever witnessed such a village, its true size completely unknown to them. The numbers hinted at something far greater than anticipated, perhaps nearly 2,000 seasoned warriors. A flash of surprise, yes, but quickly replaced by an unyielding resolve, a fatal determination. His past victories whispered to him, reinforcing a belief in his own unshakable strategic genius. He worried about the village scattering, melting away into the vast plains if he delayed even a moment. The thought of waiting, of losing this opportunity, gnawed at him, fueling an urgent, restless energy. The time for deliberation was over. The moment demanded swift, decisive, and immediate action from him. Perhaps he brushed aside any silent misgivings, trusting only his own judgment in this critical hour. Word had come of reinforcements, But Custer saw only the present, the immediate challenge before him. He chose to strike at once, a gamble against time, against an enemy still shrouded in mystery. There would be no waiting, no patient strategy. Only the direct, audacious frontal assault would do. And then, the order came. A command that would carve his command into isolated, vulnerable parts. His trusted battalions, once united, now rode separate paths, each a fragment of the whole. He still believed in the element of surprise, an advantage he thought was entirely his to wield. He saw an inferior foe, one that would break and scatter before his superior military might. Each separated unit moved deeper into the valley, unaware of the immense danger awaiting them. The strength of unity was fractured, replaced by isolated pockets of men, each fighting their own battle. It was a critical error, born of misjudgment and a deep-seated conviction in his own invincibility. The Little Bighorn Valley, silent and vast, was preparing to swallow them whole, piece by piece. The die was cast, the decisions made, sealing the fate of the 7th Cavalry forevermore. Every choice, every turn, now led irrevocably down a path toward utter, unavoidable catastrophe. The two worlds, once apart, were now destined to collide in a moment of terrible, fierce reckoning. There would be no retreat, no second chances. Only the unforgiving battlefield lay ahead now. The morning sun, warm on their faces, promised a different fate. A fateful ride now began. Reno, with a heavy responsibility, pushed his men forward, unaware of the immense power ahead. In every beat of hoof against earth, a tremor of what was to come silently echoed. Beneath them, a city of souls slept, unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. A sudden clamor, a distant sound, rippled through the peaceful morning. An unwelcome visitor. The charge began, a brutal surprise. They crashed into the heart of the unsuspecting camp. Confusion reigned, a symphony of fear and desperation as their world was suddenly overturned. Mothers protected their young, their primal instincts ignited by the terrible, sudden danger. For a fleeting moment, they believed in victory, pushing deeper into the sprawling, waking village. But then, the earth itself seemed to rise. Warriors, countless warriors emerged. Gaul, a whirlwind of righteous fury, galvanized his people, their land, their lives. Like a river breaking its banks, they enveloped Reno's small, vulnerable column completely. The tide turned swiftly. Their confident advance became a desperate struggle for survival. Disorder began to creep in, a chilling realization of their impossible situation. The hunter became the hunted. Every shot a plea, every movement a gamble. They pressed hard, their courage fueled by home and kin. No quarter given. A cold fear, like winter's chill, began to grip the hearts of the soldiers. The terrible truth dawned on Reno. They were catastrophically outnumbered, their mission now survival. Into the trees they stumbled, seeking shelter, a momentary reprieve from the swirling battle. The cottonwoods offered a whisper of hope, a fragile shield against the storm. But the warriors were everywhere, their phantom forms emerging from the dappled shadows. The woods became a cage, every branch a witness to their desperate struggle. No escape here. The only choice, run. A desperate dash for the bluffs. Like startled birds, they scattered, a broken line fleeing for any semblance of safety. Men fell, each a life extinguished, leaving behind a trail of desperate, retreating souls. The pursuit was merciless, a relentless storm chasing them towards the river's edge. Into the water they plunged, the river a perilous, cold embrace, offering no solace. Up the steep banks they scrambled, every handhold a desperate prayer, every gasp a plea. Finally, the bluffs, a temporary haven but also a stark, isolated prison. They looked back, a panorama of chaos, the village a furious hive below them. Disorganized, breathless, battered, the remnants of his command stared at their survival. The smoke still curled, a bitter reminder of the inferno they had barely escaped. Alone, utterly cut off, a chilling sense of dread settled deep into their weary bones. They rode with purpose, sunlight glinting on uniforms, a journey into the vast, unknown heartland. Then, over the rise, A sight began to form, a sprawling city, grander than imagined. A cold realization, like an autumn chill, crept in. This was no small band they faced. The land awoke, teeming with life, a countless sea of determined spirits, now rising. The world began to shrink, a tightening embrace of silent resolve, an inescapable, foreboding ring. Then came the sound, a deep rumble, growing louder. The very earth began to tremble. 1,000 voices, ancient and strong, erupted, a terrifying chorus that seized all breath. The very air turned ochre, a swirling, suffocating shroud, clinging to everything, erasing clarity. From every direction, a deadly rain descended, silent, piercing, finding its mark with chilling precision. Their rifle fire, once so confident, now seemed a whisper against the gathering storm. Clashes erupted, man against man, a desperate dance, courage and terror intertwined in deadly embrace. They gathered on a rise, a fragile island against a relentless tide. Their final stand, the lines began to waver, then fracture, like old timber beneath an unbearable weight, collapsing. One by one, they stumbled, falling, young lives extinguished too soon, too far from home. Even strong leaders, those who guided them, met their end, leaving a void unfilled. And Custer, a beacon of command, found himself consumed by the swirling maelstrom, defiant still. The sheer force of numbers, like an ocean wave, simply engulfed them, leaving no escape. Yet in their last breaths, there was defiance, a testament to the spirit's unyielding will. The terror was palpable, a chilling echo in the eyes of men facing their inevitable end. Chaos reigned, a dizzying, suffocating dance where all order dissolved into instinct and fear. When the storm passed, a terrible quiet descended, revealing a stark, tragic landscape of sacrifice. But on this day, the victory belonged to them, the land's people, a resounding triumph. Crazy Horse, a silent sentinel, surveyed the field, his spirit reflecting his people's strength. A profound silence settled, broken only by wind's whisper, carrying echoes of what transpired. The dust, once furious, now covered the fallen, a soft, final embrace for weary souls. Each fallen man, a life extinguished, leaving behind silent stories etched into the soil. The hill stood silent, a stark monument, a lesson carved deep into the unforgiving plains. For the Lakota and Cheyenne, it was a fierce reassertion of will, their sacred spirit. The wind carried whispers, not of battle but of mourning, both for victors and vanquished. And in that dust, a legend ended. A life's ambition met its final, irreversible turn. The sun began to dip, painting the sky with hues of sorrow, reflecting the day's losses. Such small remnants, yet they held the weight of stories, of courage and ultimate despair. And so, the land remembers, holding these powerful tales close, whispering them to us still. The cannons fell silent. The war cries faded, leaving only a profound, heavy quiet, a terrible hush. With the sun setting, the victorious warriors began their swift, silent departure from this blood-soaked ground. They knew what was coming. A victory so absolute carried its own heavy, dangerous price now. Days later, oblivious to the horror, another column of weary soldiers made its way. Hope, mixed with apprehension, marked their journey towards the expected rendezvous, awaiting silence. Then, a distant glint, an unnatural stillness in the familiar valley below, caught his eye. A chilling dread began to settle. Something profoundly wrong had transpired here. They knew it. What their eyes found that morning would forever haunt the memory of those who saw it. The scale of the tragedy slowly unfolded before them, a canvas painted in unimaginable despair. Hundreds lay there, brothers in arms, now silent testaments to a brutal, unforeseen storm. They were scattered like broken dolls, across hills and gullies, a final, terrible tableau. And there amongst them lay Custer, his golden hair dulled, his destiny fulfilled, his command, his comrades, his brothers in arms, all fallen together. A shared, final breath, many stripped, many mutilated. a grim reminder of war's savage, unforgiving realities here. The shock was profound, a gut-wrenching blow that echoed through their very souls. Silence. Disbelief warred with the undeniable truth. How could this have happened? Here, today. Grief, sharp and bitter, settled upon them all. A shared sorrow for fallen friends. An unprecedented defeat. A nightmare whispered across the prairies, then thundered nationwide. The news hit like a lightning strike, igniting a firestorm of anger across the nation. Outrage, raw and visceral, erupted. A demand for justice, a thirst for retribution. The calls for vengeance were immediate, unwavering. Blood for blood, a nation demanded. A somber mood descended. The nation now steeled, ready to pursue an unforgiving retribution. The echoes of that grim discovery would forever shape the fate of the American West. The dust settled, the echoes faded, but the quiet that followed held a profound, lasting weight. This was more than a battle's end. It was a turning point, etching deep scars on the land and spirit. For the Lakota and Cheyenne, it was a moment of fierce, defiant victory, bought with courage. Yet, beneath that triumph, a somber truth began to stir. The beginning of an ending. The nomadic, free way of life, cherished for generations, now faced its most profound challenge. In Washington, the news of Custer's defeat ignited a furious resolve within the government's heart. They would redouble their efforts, an unstoppable force determined to subjugate the proud tribes. Intensified campaigns swept across the plains, and relentless tide pushing against ancient freedoms. The wild, open spaces that once defined their world began to shrink, giving way to fences. Forced reservation life became a stark reality, a heartbreaking chapter in their profound history. And what of Custer? His death transformed him, reshaped by a nation grappling with loss. He became a national martyr, a figure enshrined in a narrative of sacrifice and heroism. The public mourned him deeply, weaving a story of brave men against overwhelming savage odds. Thus, the legend of Custer's last stand took root, romanticized, enduring, and deeply controversial. It's a story told from many sides, each truth a fragment of that complex, bitter encounter. A legend fueled by loss, shaping perceptions for generations, still debated, deeply felt today. But for the Native American people, Little Bighorn carries a profoundly different, powerful meaning. It remains a potent symbol of defiance, a moment when their spirit refused to break. A precious, fleeting moment when they successfully defended their cherished sovereignty and way of life. Against overwhelming odds, they showed the world their strength, their courage, their fierce independence. Yet, that victory, so hard won, was alas, a brief, beautiful, and ultimately fleeting pause. The forces arrayed against them were vast, relentless, and their resolve would soon be tested. The echoes of Little Bighorn whisper still, a reminder of courage, loss, and profound legacy. The dust has settled, but the echoes of Little Bighorn whisper across the vast plains still. This fateful day, a stark monument to bravery and folly, forever etched in our shared story. But history, my friend, is rarely a single, clear path. It's a tapestry of many threads. Debates rage, quiet whispers and fervent arguments about what truly unfolded that fateful day. For Lakota and Cheyenne, it was desperate victory, a stand for their very way of life. Their oral histories, passed down through generations, speak of courage, resilience, and profound loss. The military accounts tell a different tale, of a campaign gone tragically wrong, a shock. Their perspective is of duty, sacrifice, and the relentless march of a nation's expansion. Little Bighorn remains a deep, complex scar on the soul of America, a painful memory. It's a tragedy that transcends simple victory or defeat. It's a story of colliding worlds. What then does this stand truly teach us about hubris and the nature of conflict? What wisdom can we glean from this clash of cultures, so long ago, yet still resonant? Share your thoughts below, friends. Your perspectives enrich this shared journey. And please like, subscribe for more such deep dives into history's profound moments. Hit the bell too,